Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the channel where we talk about economics and crypto and lots of other fun things. Hey, in this video, I want to lay out a game plan for what I think are going to be ideal levels to buy certain cryptos that I have my eyes on. Now, this list is not at all, how do I say this? It's not just the top 10 cryptos or something like that. It's cryptos that I've been looking at the charts and I feel like I have a good grasp on where to get in and out of these specific cryptos. And so I don't want to just be feeding you random garbage as, oh yeah, buy this crypto at this price. These are cryptos that I know the charts pretty well. And so I think it can be helpful in finding a place like, all right, it makes sense for this cryptocurrency while the altcoins are largely in a downtrend for this cryptocurrency to settle around this price point and then bounce higher from there, whether it's a bounce to new all-time highs or a dead cat bounce, whatever, you know? So with that in mind, just let me recap a couple of things as far as my perspective right at this moment. So perspective number one, I do believe that we are in the C wave of an ABC correction. This is according to Elliott wave theory. If you're not familiar, an ABC correction that happens all the time before a next leg up, a wave 5, that would kind of be the end, the last wave of this run that could last for a few weeks or a few months. And so you can see here the green part, I drew this out a couple weeks ago. I drew this out as soon as Bitcoin broke this uptrend to the downside, at least the uptrend line. It was something that I was paying attention to as like, okay, you know what? Here's what I think is going to happen. A B wave, a C wave down under $100,000, and then we'll be ready to go for the next leg. And a key point, a key telling point for the end of that A wave and the beginning of the B wave was simply just this breaking of this particular downtrend line, which over a span of 15 days, we had 10 touches on that trend line. We broke that. Okay, we were bullish for a few days. And, you know, honestly, I thought this B wave was going to last longer than just 4 days. But here we are, 4 really good green candles. And okay, so 4 candles makes the B wave, I suppose. You know, the C wave I would expect would last longer than a 4-day stretch. Could it be a week? Could it be 2 weeks? Could we take this into July? Anything's possible. The C wave, I do believe, is going to go down below $100,000. Maybe we would be lucky enough to have this thing bounce off the 200-day moving average. That would be just a perfect level of an entry. That would make our guesswork a lot easier as far as what we should be buying and when to buy. But whatever the case, my expectation is that there's going to be something scary, something that causes some fear in the market, not just in the crypto market, but in the stock market as well, that's just going to induce the next level of selling off. And, you know, we could have some green days in between now and then, but at that point, we would drop down to the bottom of the C wave. It doesn't have to be exactly where I drew this out. It doesn't have to be on that date, but that would make sense. Now, other thing that I'm thinking about in relation to Bitcoin is this 1.618 retrace. If I were to show you every bull run in Bitcoin, every post-halving run, what you would see is in July, it's historically been in July. So maybe it'll be in July this time. Maybe it'll be in June. But in July, we go down to this 1.618 retrace in a moment of peak fear. We wick below it. We don't have a weekly close below this retrace, and then we bounce up. And so is this time going to be the same thing? It's really interesting, given where Bitcoin's price is at the moment that I'm making this video, that, okay, we're very close to that retrace. And my general feel on the market is that there is a lot of fear in the market, mostly not from Bitcoin as much, but mostly from altcoins. And so that's a little bit different this time around. A lot of the fear in the market in 2021, 2017 was with everything, you know, not just Bitcoin, not just altcoins, but from everything. This time around, a lot of the fear is just in altcoins. If you only had Bitcoin and you had never heard of an altcoin, you'd probably be all right now. But so this move down to under $100,000, moment of peak fear, I think that's what's coming next over a span of a few weeks. Could we have another bounce here? Let me just draw this out here. Could we have from here, bounce up to, I don't know, 107, 108, and then down, or another bounce there? Could we just grind down like that? It certainly could happen, but all of this would take shape as a C wave in a final corrective structure. And so with that in mind, yeah, there are specific altcoins that I am targeting as to get some decent entries here. So what are those altcoins? I do want to go in order of confidence. And so my most confident entry on TradingView is Solana. Now, I've debated between $136 or $126. What is the significance of these levels? $126 is the bottom of a 1+ year range, a range that we've essentially been in since March of 2024. So there's a lot of support there, a lot of times when Solana just held that level of support. And you might be asking, well, what about this period here in April when we went well below that level? We actually went below $100. Yeah, we maybe we'll go all the way down to that level. Whatever the case, I'm going to be buying spot at 126. Absolutely. I'm not going to worry about maybe a fake out like this, because it could happen. But whatever the case, $126 Solana at this point, given this idea that Bitcoin's going to bottom, is a fantastic deal. And if we spend a few days or maybe even weeks below 126, then sure. If you want a safer entry, here's something you should then pay attention to is, well, here's the Solana market cap chart. And you can see, that time, given the level of inflation with Solana, that time that we did spend below that same level, $126, was just a couple days in April, moment of peak fear with the tariff scare. And so if you want to wait for Solana to get down to $57 billion, I mean, good luck. There's no guarantees that it's going to do that, but maybe that's the time you buy. If you're thinking about leverage, I'm okay buying spot at 126 and maybe it goes lower. But, if you're thinking about leverage, maybe you want to take an aggressive long at $57 billion market cap for Solana. Yeah, sure. Go ahead and do that. Whatever the case, I'm in at 126, 100%. I mean, not 100%, literally 100. I'm just I'm very confident about 100%, about 126. Now, Vchain's another one I have a lot of confidence in for a potential entry. And let me keep it simple here. I think it's going to go down to 2 cents. It doesn't seem to me like it would go much lower than that. We did have that big fear April 7th bottom, where it went down a decent amount below the 2 cent. One, to be clear, 0.01913, it went below that level, but that was just a wick. So maybe waiting for a wick below 0.0193. I do have a long on TradingView, a low leverage long on my Bitmart account that I'm just waiting for 0.1913. If you zoom in here a little bit, I actually had a short and I just missed it. You can see I missed it by a few fractions of a penny. I had this level here, 0.02655. That one did not fill. Traders got more aggressive with that. And now, we have definitely bearish structure here. I'd be even eager to get into a short on Vchain if and when it gets back up to this trend line, and then ride that down to 0.01913. Now, sure, you could say there's an outside chance maybe it'll even lose that, but I mean, we're talking about with Vchain a level that hasn't been lost since we haven't gone below this level since 2023, October of 2023. So I have a hard time believing that what we have next is a move below that same level. Vchain has no inflation in its supply, so you don't have to look up a market cap chart. This is a zero inflation, good tokenomics crypto. And so, I'd buy plenty of spot at that level. I might, like I said, I do have a small leverage long at that level. That makes a lot of sense to me that we just go right back down there. Now, TOAO, it's already gotten to a level that I'm fine. I'm curious about buying this cryptocurrency here, but I do think it's going to lose that level and it's going to get down to 259. And so lots of historical confluence there. I don't think it's going to go back to its April 7th bottom. This is a strong cryptocurrency with people who hold it have a lot of conviction. And so I think they're going to be very eager to get into this in the 200s, not even all the way down to 259, but I do expect it to get down to 259, to wick below. Like I said, I don't expect it to go down to that April 7th bottom of $170. Definitely not. But 259 seems like a good place to nibble away at this, or even to just put your bags in and hope for the best. Jasmine. Jasmine's at its last line of defense right now before going back down to its 2023 peak. And I'm telling you guys, if it gets down to, I really do want another chance to get Jasmine at this 2023 peak. Let me explain to you why this is so significant. If you see right here, this was February of 2024. Jasmine blew through this resistance level, the 2023 peak, never did a back test, and then did not look back. And so it blew through that level and then eventually back tested the next level higher before blowing even higher than that. But no back test of this level created a gap. And we didn't fill that gap until right at this moment on April 7th. You know, believe it or not. So April 7th, there we go again. And we did a perfect back test of that gap and then bounced higher. I will cry tears of joy if I get another opportunity, because I missed that. I just forgot about it, honestly. I missed that opportunity for an entry. So please, you know, if we're going to lose this level, let's go ahead and lose it, and let's go right back down to that exact level, 0.00837. It's amazing how just precise that entry was. Now, I really don't want to miss this. And so I might just go a little bit higher and be willing to suffer the losses short term on something like that. Now, Aave, I have a little bit less confidence with Aave, but I'm an eager buyer because Aave is just an absolute beast. It's been one of the best performing cryptos that we've seen. This might only get down to the 200-day moving average. So that's 243. It's at 279 right now. So the 200-day, 243. Whatever the case, I'm definitely going to set along at that level and do a scalp. But there is a possibility, certainly, that this could go lower than that. I would eye the 236 retrace from this swing low to swing high. A big reason why is you can see here, you know, when we bottomed out and then when Aave rose, it created a gap. And, you know, whether it's a stock or a crypto, we love to fill gaps in investing. And so actually, I mean, now that I'm looking at this chart more, I'm just going to tell you, I'm probably going to set a pretty aggressive long right there. So what is that price point? I want to just be 100% sure on that. $181, somewhere around there. I think there's a good chance we're going to see Aave get down to that level. So scalp at the 200-day, but Aave at $181. That seems to make sense to me. Next, we have Brett. Brett seems to be following along with my projection very well. I think Brett is going back down to its April bottom. And so that's it's currently at 4.4 cents as the moment that I'm making this video. Brett did, it bottomed out at 0.023. So that's almost cutting it in half from where it is right at this moment. So I'm not interested in holding Brett. I sold my Brett a couple weeks ago, but I definitely am interested in buying Brett right back at that level. So 2.3 cents, thereabouts. That would make sense to me. And, you know, I didn't include this, but I've talked about WIF before with the same mindset of wondering if WIF is also going to get back down to its April bottom. I would not be surprised with WIF if it did something like, 65 cents. But if it were to lose that somewhere between 60 and 65 cents, I would expect it to go back down to its April bottom, which unfortunately is around 32 cents. So that's a significant drop. I have very low confidence for that, but if we were to see WIF at 32 cents, my goodness, that would be a gift. Now, Pendle, one of my favorite cryptos, it has been a very strong cryptocurrency, very strong for the last several months. And you can see with the beginning of the bombing of Iran and Israel, the traders were eager to jump on the trigger for that. It almost got down to a level that I've had my eyes on. I do think that will be the bottom. It could, that's a good trading level. It could go lower. It could certainly go lower than that, but I have such a high conviction on this cryptocurrency that I'm not going to wait for it to go any lower than that before I'm buying some spot. And then the first time it does bounce off of $3.38, I'll do a scalp, just to make some short-term gains. So yeah, Pendle, that seems to be about what I would expect for Pendle. Sui is a tough one. I've had my eyes on this $2.78 level. But it's already really close to there. And just like I said before, these cryptocurrencies, they love to fill gaps. And I mean, look at this green candle right here from April 22nd. I do wonder about that, if it will eventually fill this gap. So what do we do with this? Let me just get a box to fill here, and I'll just keep this on my trading view account. So here we go. My goodness. I don't use rectangles all that much. I did not mean to do that. Let's try that again. So that's a big box to fill. It makes sense to me that that Sui will eventually get down within this zone. Personally, my opinion, in my Sui wallet, I'm entirely in stables. I would be okay with just DCAing into Sui within this range. It would make sense for me to see this go to the bottom of the range, so even as low as $2.26. But I'm not going to wait. I like the idea of getting in on Sui within that box there. So a couple more here. We have Fartcoin. Fartcoin is kind of going along with my projections. I didn't expect it to go as high as it did, and now it's certainly gotten rejected there. You can kind of see an ABC structure as well. I think the bottom of that C wave would be around 80 cents. So I know I drew that lower. I mean, it's not like I did that scientifically, but around 80 cents, 79 cents, 79, 80 cents, something like that. I'm expecting it to bottom. What I would do with Fartcoin, because with these meme coins, it's incredibly choppy, incredibly volatile. So what happens with the meme coins is that it'll probably settle down for a bit, and I would wait for it to settle down for a bit, and then I'd buy in. So hold off on Fartcoin until you do see it settle down. And then we have Injective, and Injective I think will go to $8.53, just the bottom of this range. Did spend some time below there in April, like always, So bottom of the range, $8.53. I would be very eager to buy Injective there. Well, anyway, so that's all I have for today. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful rest of your week, and I will most certainly be seeing you in another video. Peace.